The 13th floor. The 13th floor.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. I'm your moderator, B. Jones, and now I'm sitting here with my main man. You got to speak into the mic, man.
Wow.
Take my first podcast. Got my main man, Kellen, here sitting with me today. How are you, sir?
Good.
Good. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Are you ready for Christmas?
Yes.
You know what you're getting?
No.
Good. Nice answer. What do you want?
A hoverboard.
Oh wow!
Hoverboard. Okay.
Wow, that's a strong gift for Santa. It's a strong gift.
Hey man, shoot for the stars, right?
I'm about to say probably around that age, I probably wanted a hoverboard too.
And then
mine was just a lot different. The thought of what my hoverboard was a lot different.
That's true.
For a long time.
What we thought 2019 was going to bring for a hoverboard, right?
Right? Exactly.
Easy.
Y'all remember Back to the Future too?
Back to the Future. Oh man, yeah, I want those kicks. Nike made them actually.
Yeah, he did. Yep, like $1,000.
So you heard some of almost everybody, but you got BJ down low with the Christmas hat on today. What's happening, brother?
Not just the Christmas hat, baby.
Oh, look, you always come with the you swag. My bad. What's going on?
All good, baby. Here coming up on the holiday season, trying to get done with this stuff so I can relax tomorrow before everybody go crazy on Christmas Day. So we're good to go.
Easy. Faison, it's been a minute, man. What's going
on? Good. Chilling. Feeling better. I'm good. Doing well. Rocking the good old Santa Claus shirt. Ask your mom if I'm real shirt, which I think is awesome. So I enjoy that. And just good. Ready to be back. Ready to end the year off. Hope you guys all had a good Christmas, because when this plays out, it'll be already Christmas. So.
Oh, Christmas is going to be great. Isn't that right, Kellen? You got to say it.
Yes.
Wow. So, Kay, how you doing today, bro?
Man, how are you?
I have no complaints at all. You know, another beautiful day in Zamunda. We are out here totally invigorated, ready to go. Freshivation is in full effect. 2020 is going to be one heck of a year. You know, let's get it, man. Let's really get it.
Yeah, 2020, man. You know, it's a little different this year. You know, since it's not just the end of the year, it's just the end of another decade.
Right.
Decade.
That's a huge. The funny thing is, it really took you pointing out earlier this week for me to really sit back and really analyze and really try to, you know, think about and reflect on what that decade has been. Because, you know, I've been ripping and tearing lately and really focused on, you know, what the next moves are going to be. And it's interesting to think about 10 years coming to a close and the amount of change that has happened over that time.
I don't know about you guys, but it just seems like 10 years is starting to go by faster and faster.
Way too fast.
Yeah.
That is an understatement. But it's also interesting. They say that, you know, your life moves in those 10-year waves. And looking back and starting to analyze, you know, going into my fourth section of 10-year waves and kind of really seeing, especially for somebody like me, that I kind of moved almost in each of those 10-year segments. And so it really was like real changes for me along those periods. In those decades, that it's very interesting to sit back and reflect, and especially this last decade, a lot of things that I never would have expected to be changed, not just in life and lifestyle, but even in mentality and thought process. And the evolution is real. It's just it's good. It's good to sit back, reflect, and analyze, I guess, at the end of the day.
I tell you what's crazy. 10 years ago, none of us were married.
I was just thinking that.
The only one that had a kid was BJ. right?
Wow.
And it's just like, wow. So I think that's one of the biggest things when I look at the last 10 years. I'm like, whoa, you're right. From decade to decade, the shift is crazy.
Wow. Yeah, a lot has happened in the last 10 years. I think I've lived in 4 states, 6 apartments. um, well, that's just crazy. I married, kids, two weddings actually, 2 weddings and a baby.
Yeah.
2 weddings and a baby,
Yes.
2
That
babies.
was the same person, ladies
The
and
same
gentlemen.
person. Right.
Yeah, let's get
That was
clear.
wow. This is a lot. This is definitely a lot. And through it all, my baby, my FJ Cruiser still hold strong. Go FJ.
And what's also crazy is, so one is 2 weddings to the same person in 2 different years, which was a movie. But just, yeah, I mean, how many places have I lived in the last 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But when you sit back and you think about it, if somebody would have told you in 2010 that you're going to do, or in 2009, really, that you're going to do all this stuff between 2010 and 2019, you'd be like, man, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
And the funny thing is, right, it's not only that, but it's also you have your thought process on what you envisioned that next 10 years was going to be. And now seeing how that 10 years panned out is just like, wait a minute, like, what are you talking about? My thought process is totally not where it needed to be. And you start realizing how much stuff that you at that moment back then was so precious and was the, end all be all, and this meant so much. And now it's stuff that you're like, I actually used to listen to that, or I actually used to, that was stuff I cared about, or like, that was what it's always interesting watching your growth, right?
I think I paid to be myself at 30 again, just to be able to take a nap in the middle of the day and sleep as long as I wanted. Those precious things you don't forget about, man. Just I'm going home and doing nothing today would be awesome, but there's always something to do now. It's crazy.
Two
Yeah.
I think the end of last decade was, for me, that transition period where everything started shifting, because it was that going in that winter season of 2009, going into 2010, living in Ohio, living back home in Ohio. Since 2007, I decided I had enough of the cold weather and enough of just not being able to progress. And since that, I felt like I couldn't progress there, and feeling stuck and feeling like, okay, mentally I'm breaking down, physically I'm breaking down, emotionally I'm breaking down, and realizing those 3 aspects of my life was literally having me in a state of almost depression. There was time to make a move, and it took me the next year to actually get everything together, find a job, to be able to move back, because I didn't move back here to 2011. So the end of 2010, applying for stuff in early 2011 to start making that move. But it was the winter 2009, around that New Year, and that's how, like, this is gonna be one of the last New Years that I'm gonna be up here. I spent one more than I really wanted to, but that was to prepare everything to get back in order. But when that feeling gets inside of you and you just know this is not the place to be, this is not the place to thrive, that you can thrive and live out your fullest potential, that's when the shift for me started really, really occurring. So I think back to this decade as a whole, and like, look, like you said, it at that point in time we were just one kid in. Like, now it's 3, and my oldest is 13. The other ones just turned 11. So, in that, they were just coming. So,
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Brett Jones, where were you in 2009? Where were you in life?
And in 2009, I was still living the fantasy, living the dream in Miami. Yeah, I had just graduated and was living on the beach and in between working and stuff. What was that? 2009? That's what, 2023? Man.
Living La Vida Loca.
Look at the face.
Go back out there with Nia and them, man, so I can have a
Hey,
conversation.
let me tell y'all something, America.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. There was no Kellen, right? You still
no Kellen. I mean, that was that time period. It was really crazy because like I was still trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I had just graduated, but wasn't working for real. Like I had jobs, but not anything in my career field. Playing now, not necessarily as focused because I was just enjoying life at the time, like really living. And just I don't know, like looking back then to now, like all of the maturation process is really the biggest thing that sticks out because I look at what I spent my time doing and what was, I think Fresh was talking about it, like what was important then versus like what's important now. And I just feel like there's a couple of key there were a couple of key pieces missing that would have propelled me a little further in life than where I currently am if I had those key pieces then. But at the same time, you go through everything that you're supposed to go through for a reason, and it builds you up to where you're supposed to be. So, it just depends on which, side of the coin you're looking at it at. But yeah, 2009, that was a great year, man. Still road tripping, hanging with the bros, and
right. Not now. You can't even road trip to the next state if you wanted to.
Not on purpose.
And the problem is you live in Maryland.
Right.
You in Virginia, easy.
Right.
And it's still a planned event. Like,
yeah.
Man, I got to make time to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other crazy things that if you compare and contrast, man, we were like 2 years into a black president.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was like one of the best moments ever. Actually being able to vote in that election. It wasn't my first time voting, but like putting Barack Obama in the office. I had to do that.
Right. And we were just kind of like we never saw where we're at now. We never saw that coming.
No, not at all.
At all.
That man, the current president was still in people's rap songs talking about just money.
Yeah, exactly. He was. Yep.
Comparison for money and wealth in the U.S. in the rap industry. That's what the standard was for that name that we shall not say on this.
And now it's something totally different.
Yeah, totally different, man.
That was a great point.
I remember just sitting there thinking like, man, if my man gets assassinated, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. All 8 years, still even to the last day, like they still might try. I
don't know. I think he's Mr. Untouchable. I think at that point, because of who he is and what he had accomplished, I think it's hard to assassinate someone of Barack Obama's stature in this day and age, just because I don't really feel like you're dealing with the same type of Negro in the same time period as when assassinations were like happening left and right. Although I feel like there have been some creative ways to assassinate some very important people in the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that you can. I think Barack Obama is like too big of a target.
Okay, that's a whole nother podcast.
You do a lot out there with that.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know how to.
The current state of today's Negro. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So that's what that
is a 2020
February 1st broadcast.
Right? 2020 broadcast right there.
What's the first week in February?
Right. We gonna have a state of the Black Union.
It is. We used to have that at UM. We put that on a couple times.
I got a great question for everybody, right? So what was one of the single most impactful events or moments of your last decade? All right, we'll go to you first.
Wow.
What you fat?
I was like, shit, what is that? What the most a single? I mean, singles a lot. I guess. I guess for me, the most impactful thing was Namdi, because when I saw him, I said, okay, there's no more playing around now. Now I got to make sure I'm taking care of my life for him, not just like me. I can say what I wanted to say and do things and plan out, but like all the planning stopped. And it was like, there's action now, because I saw him and said, this is it. I got to be better because of that guy. Make sure he's good to go. So that's what I would say was the biggest thing. Up to that point in time, nothing really happened, but I don't know. It was just ran through. Those years ran, and the wedding, yeah. I said wedding, but the 10 to 20s just kind of blurred through like a hyperloop in one of the movies. Just going.
I think it's really hard to put that into like the one most impactful event, in that time frame.
It's not supposed to be easy. That's why we on the spot, Jack.
Yeah, but it's like there's so many defining moments, like
10
so many
years is a lot.
pivots.
But choose one.
Over 10 years.
Well, pick one.
If I had, I could say Kelly, because I
already gave it to you, so now you guys are good. Everybody's covered. All dads.
Ain't no layups on this joint.
Every dad's covered. Kids are good.
Now the art has spoken. Everything but children.
The next biggest one was me moving to Maryland, because that was like a literal upheaval of a way of life, a way of thinking. It was a huge transition, and I feel like I grew up again in that time frame, just from different experiences, professionally and personally, and getting acclimated to an entirely new environment. It was like this was a foreign country to me, and I wasn't really looking forward to it. And it has gotten better over time, but like nothing is like Miami. But that whole process, the relationship went to the next level. Professionally, I went to the next level. Family-wise, went to the next level. So it was just a big event that changed the trajectory of me, like crazy.
Anybody want to go next? Carol, you scratching your neck. Go ahead and go, dog.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know where to start, man. It's like
yeah, you did a lot too.
Five promotions in 10 years, multiple moves, marriage, a child, which everybody knows that was like that wasn't on my radar at all. Like,
never gonna let that one go.
Yeah, everybody knows I was strongly opposed. I would say, shoot, man, my grandmother passed in the last 10 years. Man, there's a lot. I don't know. I think it's almost like just looking at the totality of it. There's been so much growth, just so much that you overcome and you get through to still interact every day, to still push forward. So I think it was just one of those, okay, well, people don't really know how much can you really take? How much can you really do? And until you start putting stuff up on the scoreboard, you don't really know. Like when we first talked about it, I didn't even think about, oh, shoot, my grandmother passed in the last 10 years. That seemed like it was so much longer ago, but it wasn't. Right? So it's crazy.
You want to go last or you want to go now, BJ? Do you want to go last?
If I was right what Kay was saying, because everybody wants to say, your kids, marriage, things like that. But I think the most impactful would be the people that I've lost in this decade. Because it seemed like every time you turn around for a short period of time, there was like another funeral after another funeral after another funeral. And it just got to the point where it's like, what is going on? Understanding that it's not for me to understand why, but it's like, am I next? and we all know it hit close to home for a lot of us, right? So my grandmother passed 4 years ago. December 1st was 4 years. So 2015, we lost Bang. 2.5 years ago now. Justin from UM was right after that. Those are the new Justin from the engineering department. My grandfather was 2 years before my grandmother. Like, so in that year, it was just like person after person. There's many other in between, but those are the ones that I can speak of. Like, at certain points, it was like, what next? It could be me, and looking back over their lives and the legacy they left, and vividly thinking like, okay, I have to make sure that the legacy I want to leave is established now, because I don't know if tomorrow's going to be here or not. And it was just reminder after reminder after reminder that you're slacking, get it done. You're slacking, get it done.
That's interesting, because you said in all of that, am I next? And I want to know, like, what is that mind state like? And I think, Carol, you may be able to add to that a little bit, because of your near-death experiences throughout life. But where does that kind of take you? You know what I'm saying? And then what motivation have you pulled out of that?
That me directly, or for anybody?
Yeah.
For me directly, it was stop playing around and stop waiting for things to happen and go out and create the legacy you want to have. Don't wait for somebody else to tell your story. Write your story for somebody else to tell, right? Art said it kind of when, like, he said he saw Namdi's like, I got to do better for them. It's like, it's not about PJ, right? Everything that I do and I'm thinking about in the future, it's stuff we're doing right now, but it's how am I building for them that if tomorrow I left here, they're in a better place than I ever was, right? They're able to succeed and press on despite the loss. Like, we all know that's going to be a hard hit, right? For your immediate family and close friends and everybody around. But I've seen so many people pass on, and it's like, we have their memories, but how many people are there to carry on that legacy? Or what is left to carry on that legacy? One example is, I didn't even know my mom was working in the background. We got word the other day that some after she passed and part of the will and everything like that, what happened was that they established a scholarship in her name in a hometown back in Ohio, in Steubenville, Ohio. Then I didn't know about. My mom was working with them in the background in the city. So I'm like, that's the type of something that you want somebody. It's not about them remembering who I am, but it's about leaving something to pass on to help somebody else even after I'm gone, right? It's not about, who Brian Jones was. No, this scholarship, this is the Brian Jones scholarship, or this is the Christina Williams scholarship, is going to help somebody pursue their educational goals, right? When it comes to my kids, am I doing everything I can? Am I just, and we talking about your 9 to 5 versus your passion, right? Am I just working a job to pay the bills and get by, or am I really investing in something that's going to leave? I'm going to enjoy, I'm going to love doing, but also leave a foundation for them as well, and start building that legacy for them. Because again, we go back to all the conversations we have. Am I just going to die and leave debt, or am I going to die and leave wealth for my family?
Mm-hmm.
And all those different things have been in my mind over the last year. So that's the motivation. Like, what are you doing? Because if your time comes tonight, if I don't wake up in the morning, what's going to be left for them?
Yeah, and I think that 9 to 5 versus passion, we gonna refer to that as passion versus platform moving forward, right?
Gotcha.
But I think you're right. I think in the last decade, we all got a gut check of like, hey, use it or lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Like, you either gonna use your gift, or if you're not gonna use it, then you know what? I'm gonna recall you.
Wow.
And somebody else is gonna go out there and do something with what I gave them, right? Or with what they have. So I think that was a big one. I think we also had a shift in creating generational wealth. We got exposed to some stuff. I think all of us as a group that now put generational wealth into our heads, and what,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do? How do we start aligning that? And of course, you know, at this point now we can reflect and be like, man, if 10 years ago we'd have been thinking about that.
Right?
Right.
Or
Right. Everybody was coming out of the recession. You know, stocks were cheap. Property was cheap.
pennies
If we'd have put some money together.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been crazy if we would have been, but it's also, if straight out of college, if we would have had this energy and this focus on bigger things and not just we just need to figure out some career to schlep through until, you know, be satisfied moving through. It would have been totally different. That but that's what you always do, right?
Yeah.
That's
youth.
year,
Youth and age. Yeah. Wisdom.
No matter what, you're always looking back like, man, if I would have just put that $10 in Google back then when someone said, you know, the random thing, hey man, you just want to throw this in there? I just saw Teach, shout out to Teach, House of Mac. I just saw him putting up where somebody was sending him hey, these guys started this company Uber and need help breaking into Miami, and I wanted to pass along your email as assistance. You know what I mean? That you could be of some assistance helping them break into the Miami market. And it's just crazy the way that you see things, you know, grow and evolve from situations like that. And it's like, I'm sure when he got that text, it was whatever. It was just like, all right, cool, I'll help whatever, fine. And you look at now what that's become. It's the same thing with investments, you know, where you could be, what you want to do, all the and where you've come.
Bitcoin was in this last 10 years.
Bitcoin's in the last 10 years, and it's still around. But going back to that whole Uber thing, you know, I don't know how seriously my man took it, and if he actually did something. But think about it: how many people are coming across you all the time with some idea or something that's just starting up, and you just like, man, whatever, miss it, right? Like if he would have went hard with Uber, right, where would he be right now? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's a successful dude, but could he have multiplied that? And maybe he is. I don't know. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know what you call it is. And you know, I live myself my life as the exception, not the rule, in the sense of, y'all know me. I'm gun ho. When anybody tell me they got any idea, I'm gonna test you and see how far you were really willing to go with it. That if you really are saying, hey, this is what I want to do and let's make something happen, I'm one of the few who is like, yo, let's figure it out. I don't know where we start, but we're gonna get there. If this is really what you want to do, let's make it happen. Which I think more of y'all should be. America, universe, world, all of that good stuff. In the works. Oh, trust. I just you want to drop these subliminals? I just got some new beats, so please believe it.
Nice.
I really want to know if Brett brought dial-up from 2000.
Yeah, I think that Maryland connection is horrendous. But you know, I'll get to, how about this? I'll get to my I think well, anybody want to guess what my my soul moment is?
Your soul moment.
My one moment of
the moment. Yeah, he never said his.
Dag.
Wow.
Hey man. I meant, when you said your soul moment, I thought you meant like, you know, like your soul, like, you know, righteous brother, you know.
Najee Ramba.
Yeah.
I hit us with it first.
Nah, I mean, definitely without a doubt, ending the funny thing is, in that decade, I was just coming in to the relationship I had, and 2 years ago, ending it now, like that, without a doubt, was one of the most defining. It was the most defining moment, especially if I look at how I've how in a sense I was broken down and changed in that moment, and the things that have come along, and what's going on with my dial-up connection. It definitely I can recall, especially with BJ talking about legacy, that in having a stepdaughter at that moment, I knew, and I can tell you, I had those conversations about the fact that I had those feelings of not having a legacy because I didn't have a seed, and because my stepdaughter at the time was not my daughter, that I knew if anything happened or shook between us, that connection was going to be lost no matter what, no matter how strong I thought or assumed that bond was, that no matter what, rightfully so, that's not my daughter. And so those moments like really changed and affected how I shifted through, that separation. But then my thoughts of how can I leave an impact if or a legacy if my legacy is not through a child. Like, what things are there that are left to do that can be, just like BJ was saying, something that's left to impact generations on.
You know what, man? Ooh, right there, and I'm gonna use you, but I'm really talking to the people. I think one of the things you got to do, like, we always say, look, don't look back, stay in the present moment, don't even look to the future, really stay in the present moment, maximize this moment. But I think whenever you change a decade, you always got to look back at what were the lessons I learned from the previous decade so that you don't have to repeat those lessons again. And Fresh, what made me think about that was 10 years prior to you getting into that relationship. What happened 10 years prior to that?
Exactly. I just got out of what I thought was about to be my job forever, and I just knew that I was about to be a wingman, no pun intended, for life. And exactly, I remember that moment of and it's funny, especially looking back and truly understanding and analyzing the feeling of exhale in both of those moments in relief, once it was truly like verbalized, stated, and said that it was over and known. Like both of those moments were extremely crazy. They both, like, I remember the feeling of just like years of breath. Just,
I was more so talking about, like, if you go back 20 years from now, right? So let's go. Faison got it.
man, wow. You really bag. Wow.
You kicked off that decade.
You hold them tight. You hold them.
Getting out of a relationship, right?
That's true too.
Right. And then
That's true too.
You kicked off this last decade getting into one, and now you're out of one. And I just use that as a guide for folks. Like, you really got to sit down and write down, okay, what haven't I learned? And did I have an opportunity to learn it? Right. To break the cycle, because otherwise you just gonna keep getting the lesson until you learn it and until you do something different. Right. I'm not necessarily saying that's what's happening to Fresh, but there has to be.
That was a swift kick in the nards right there, bro. What are you trying to say about me and my relationship personality?
Hey,
but
man,
I get exactly what you mean, and more so, I would say it's I think that's one of the things that you don't realize and understand about relationships truly until you are experiencing and going through them. And one of the faults of early relationships, getting in these quote unquote, I'm getting married at 20, you don't know who you are personally, but then you don't know who you're going to grow to be. And the biggest challenge of relationships is being able to be accepting and embracing of the evolution of each other. And that's where most people don't understand that it is okay to come to the conversation and understanding that we've evolved into different spaces. And instead of allowing that to cause anger and frustration, being able to be okay and say, hey, we've evolved past each other, that we need to, in order to keep sanity and things cordial, we need to go ahead and split. And that's what happened in my situation, that it wasn't anything cheating or crazy or astronomical, but it was the understanding of, wow, we are on different wavelengths, we are on different planes, we are have different aspirations, that really it takes a strong mind to be able to have that acceptance and then be able to make that separation. But I was going to say it is, and it's funny because Kay actually brought it up, but it's actually right along with the affirmation, the fresh ovation for today. My nature is divine. I am a spiritual being. I'm at peace with all that has happened, is happening, and will happen. My fears of tomorrow are simply melting away. My thoughts are filled with positivity, and my life is plentiful with prosperity. My life is a gift, and I appreciate everything I have. So again, just like Kay was talking about, we are always so focused on, when we try to be better focused on living in the present, which is something that you should do, because they say if you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're, at peace, you're living in the right now, which is what you should do. But that reflection and that ability to reflect, understand the lessons that you've learned, but then also be accepting with what has happened, and having that understanding and knowing that what will happen, you will be able to get past and get through.
Nah, man, that was timely, man, and I hope, man, people go back and rewind that part, listen to it again. But I'll come back and touch on that. Right now, we're gonna go to Faison for Faison's Corner.
See, I guess I'm ending off this decade with something kind of crazy, going to the hospital and doing that whole rigmarole.
Yeah.
But so, but being there, and this is where, we bring end the year off, or close to end the year off, with some positive, some cool, heartwarming stories. But being in a hospital and seeing the phone calls, the texts,
Hold on, man. You just can't say being in the hospital, man, because
why?
some people gonna think the worst. Some people they just don't know.
No, no pain, no worries. It was an MRI, CAT scan.
He's pregnant, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, right. Nothing violent. So I wasn't in pain, but my wife asked me to go to get checked out, went, and then stayed overnight and made sure it was all good to go. So we're still in testing, but everything's well. No C words. All good.
I know, ladies and gents, y'all fight the good fight. If y'all spouse is significant other is hard-headed and strong-willed, make sure that they go for their checkups and get things checked out, especially things that are persistent and lasting. That's it. Message.
Yeah. So with that, it was just cool again to see everyone. Text calls, phone calls, letters, flowers, visits. I mean, all kinds of stuff that came out of nowhere. But like all that stuff was just cool, and it makes you think to yourself that in this social media kind of environment, we're all in ourselves and in your own areas and so forth, or you're moving around as a nomad, trying to get to the next position, in your job. People are there, and the people you don't think are there are always there for you. It may not mean you make a phone call once a week or once a month, but something goes down with you, or people care about you positively or negatively. They're there to support you. So never think you are alone. There's always more out there that want to make sure you're okay. So anyone having issues or concerns, this is just know that there are people out there who care for you. Even if they aren't saying it, they're there for you.
Nice. Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, please go out there, prioritize your health. That's probably another thing that was a huge thing this last decade for us, was prioritizing your health. We mentioned earlier about so many deaths, people our age and younger that passed this last decade. And it was just a big, huge flag of, hey, where's everybody at in your health journey? How are you maintaining or improving yourself? So, well, good. Brett, what you got for us? Oh, sorry. Dial up. Yeah. Somebody send him a new AOL disc, please. He needs it.
Well, it's Christmas time. He has spent a lot of money on Santa's investment. And so you know how that go.
They laughing
Yeah.
because I keep dropping my connection, man. My computer died one
Oh,
time,
he's
and
there.
then my
Yeah,
internet.
he's there.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. Asshole. Anyway, did somebody already ask the question? What we looking at? Where we're looking to be 10 years from now? Because I might have missed that.
Nah, man. You missed a lot. But,
Well, hello.
Here we go. Listen, we have one more show before the new year, so we'll do that one for that.
yeah, man, we'll save that question, man, for next week. Where we're looking to be at 10 years from now. It's a good one, though.
There it is.
I like it.
Yeah, 7 days. Think about that one. That's a hard one, but I will think about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Kellen, you still sitting there, man?
Man, I came back.
Question is, are you still there awake?
Right.
Man, this dude is struggling.
That I didn't know what
Right there
That
with
man
you.
said, "This is the same computer I play the video games on."
He's like, it can't be. It can't be.
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can get more of this craziness on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Vimeo, Spotify,
Yes. Name them all.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us at 13th Floor Please, just about everywhere. And
You should have let BJ bust it off again, because I can't even remember how eloquently he let that flavor roll off his tongue last week. But that man said something about like wherever you have your listening pleasure or something like that. Drop that thing again. I might rewind that joint.
That was
Bring
some
it on
good
back.
old
We're gonna have to
thunderstorm.
pull
over
up
there.
last week's episode to go check that out and listen all the way through to the end to get
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Debut.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing out because I know people need to go prepare for their celebrations and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, somebody's already sipping on a little something, look like some.
That eggnog. That eggnog.
That's that head nod.
Yeah, that's gonna scratch your ear after you. Yeah, but listen, man. So Fresh was talking about relationships, and that just made me think about the last decade. And I think we realized that the relationship you have with yourself is the one that you have to prioritize the most. And I promise y'all, every time I go to close one of these out, I think I'm gonna talk for about 15 minutes and just give you fire, and it ends up being like a minute and a half. But if I could tell you anything, is add logs to the fire of your own life. Stop waiting for somebody else to come along and set your life ablaze and make you become the best version of yourself. Invest in yourself, invest in your health, be very tactical and strategic in the relationships that you form going into this decade, the relationships that you keep going into this decade. You always want to have people that are adding and building, helping you build your fire, and make sure that you're doing likewise, going out there and helping others just be the biggest fire they can be, the best fire they can be, just help people to light their light, and it'll come back to you. Reciprocity will come back to you and will take care of you. Stop looking for external validation, validate yourself and move forward. 2020, that's the decade of self-realization, self-accomplishment. And through those things, everything else around you will be accomplished too. That's our show here on the 13th floor.
There it is.
Where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing.
Amazing.
Yes. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, because when our next episode drops, it will actually
be after. Yeah, that's true.
I ain't display my whole joint for y'all though.
There it is. That's an ostrich?
Llama. It's a llama.
It's a llama, dog. It's an ostrich, dog.
Oh, what? I thought,
I'll take that. Yes. One for the winter collar.
Oh, I can't even. Okay, from my angle, I'm mad far away. I thought it was llama. I was like llama, but I've been seeing it everywhere. Yeah, the llama things are everywhere now.
Just such a difference between an ostrich and a llama, though.
Yeah,
you listen from my from my view.
The thing is,
I see the back.
You got a 17-inch screen over there. I know.
No, I'm on a baby screen right now. This is the baby one.
Well, I will give this final tip, ladies and gentlemen.
Vintage mush mouth.
Every year there's an ugly sweater issue that y'all got to go through. What you need to go ahead and do right now is New Year's. That's what you go shop for. I got this bad boy right here, as ugly as it can be. My ostrich llama. It cost me about $3. Why? Because I got it New Year's last year. So that's a tip. We out of here on the 13th floor where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views and the ugly sweaters is amazing.
Presents for everybody. Rock and roll Sam.
The 13th floor. The 13th floor.
Everybody know, damn, that nigga Arson. And I'm out.
Yeah, me.